North Korea has fired a long-range missile in what is viewed as a major escalation. It's the first time it has launched an intercontinental ballistic missile since 2017.
In the heart of Asia, North Korea, governed by the Kim Dynasty, operates as a fortress of secrecy, effectively concealing a multitude of aspects of its existence from the watchful eyes of the global community. Behind strongly guarded walls lie dark secrets, from carefully staged elections to the existence of the pleasure squad. Join us as we reveal 15 dark secrets that North Korea doesn't want you to know. Number 20. Banned South Korean media. Consuming South Korean entertainment and media content, such as K-pop music, films, and TV dramas, is strictly forbidden under North Korean law. The regime sees their cultural imports from the democratic South as dangerous foreign influences to be stamped out. However, in recent years, their popularity, fueled in part by the rising fame of South Korean boy band BTS, has skyrocketed. Although banned, many North Koreans secretly gain access to prohibited South Korean media on smuggled USB drives and DVDs, or by tampering with government-approved radios and TVs to receive outside signals. They watch clandestinely despite the huge risks. Harsh punishments, including years of hard labor, await those caught enjoying the banned Southern entertainment. In some cases, North Koreans have even reportedly been executed for distributing or viewing South Korean media. But the demand persists. The regime has responded by cracking down harder than ever before, upgrading surveillance to detect signals, raiding homes for contraband, and publicizing severe sentences. Yet South Korean pop culture continues proliferating among North Korean youth attracted to it over state propaganda. Number 19. Child labor. Child labor is widespread in North Korea, despite the state officially adhering to the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child and having laws prohibiting child labor. Economic realities lead to children often working long hours performing hard physical tasks in hazardous conditions, providing cheap labor to maintain the functions of the impoverished country. The chronic food shortages have compelled many children to forego education in order to earn income to support themselves and their families. This includes tasks like vending in markets, rag picking, and begging. Many end up being subjected to forced labor with no protections. Younger children are sometimes kept out of school to serve as caregivers for siblings while parents work. During harvest times, schools often order students to leave classes temporarily to work on farms and agricultural operations as extra labor. Students as young as 10 may spend months away from school tilling fields, weeding, gathering crops by hand, carrying heavy loads, and other back-breaking work. Orphan children are especially vulnerable to exploitation as child laborers. Homeless street children, known as kotjebi, often work in construction, transportation, mining, and other hazardous sectors, seeking means of basic survival. There are also reports of child trafficking from North Korea to China involving forced labor in brothels and cybersex operations. Number 18. Hackers and cryptocurrency. North Korean state-sponsored hacking groups have orchestrated some of the biggest cryptocurrency thefts in recent years, raking in billions of dollars worth of digital coins to fund the regime and its weapons programs. Groups like Lazarus Group operate with the blessing of the Pyongyang government to infiltrate cryptocurrency exchanges and steal crypto assets through phishing, malware, and cyber intrusions. Cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin appealed to North Korean hackers because they provide a means to bring in funds while circumventing the international sanctions imposed on the rogue state. North Korea built up significant hacking capabilities focused on cryptocurrency theft. Groups like Lazarus conducted massive attacks on exchanges in places like South Korea, stealing hundreds of millions in crypto assets in single raids. In 2022, North Korea-linked hackers were responsible for stealing a staggering $3.8 billion worth of digital currency globally. This was up 40% from the previous year, indicating Pyongyang's growing ambitions in this profitable illicit activity. Major hacks targeting Ronin Bridge and Harmony's Horizon Bridge accounted for over $1 billion in thefts. The regime denies any role, but telltale signs like the malware code used to point to Lazarus Group, which is controlled by North Korea's primary intelligence agency. The stolen cryptocurrency gets laundered through over-the-counter brokers and mixing services to obscure its path before ending up in Pyongyang's hands. North Korea pioneered using cryptocurrency theft as a way for sanctioned nations to fund weapons of mass destruction. The regime devotes elite technical talent to continually updating hacking methods and exploits. For instance, North Korean hackers shifted their approach from targeting exchanges to cross-chain bridges and swapped stolen Ethereum for Bitcoin to avoid blockchain analysis. Number 17. Hidden drug trade. North Korea's shadowy involvement in the illicit drug trade is one of the regime's best-kept secrets. Despite presenting itself to the world as a lawful and principled nation, North Korea covertly produces and traffics drugs, most notably methamphetamines like crystal meth. This hidden drug trade has operated for decades, providing crucial revenue streams that help prop up North Korea's isolated regime and fragile economy. While North Korea officially has strict laws prohibiting the production, sale, and use of illegal drugs, the reality is that the state is directly involved in the manufacturing and distribution of drugs. Defector accounts indicate state-run factories and laboratories in North Korea covertly mass-produce methamphetamines and other illicit substances. The regime relies on the expertise of scientists and technical experts to synthesize the drugs. Methamphetamine production appears to be concentrated in the northern provinces of North Korea, such as Hamgyongbuk-do and Yanggangdo. These remote mountainous regions provide the cover and secrecy for clandestine drug manufacturing to occur away from prying eyes. Production is facilitated by ready access to precursor chemicals from North Korea's extensive chemical and pharmaceutical industries. The illicit narcotics, once manufactured, are trafficked beyond North Korea's borders through intricate smuggling networks maintained by the state. North Korean diplomats have even been implicated in trafficking drugs under the cover of their diplomatic privileges. Seizures of drugs in neighboring countries like China have revealed the global reach of North Korea's illicit drug pipeline. In the 1990s, North Korea began exporting methamphetamines to foreign buyers, using the profits as hard currency. Japan and the Philippines were the initial target markets. Now, crystal meth and other drugs from North Korea have made their way around the world, reaching places as far as the United States, Canada, Australia, and Europe. The scale of North Korea's drug trade is substantial, amounting to an estimated $1 billion in profits per year. These illicit earnings have become a financial lifeline for Kim Jong-un's regime. Number 16. Laughter ban. When North Korea's previous leader Kim Jong-il passed away in December 2011, the country went into an 11-day mourning period during which extreme restrictions were placed on any activities that might be seen as disrespectful or entertaining. Laughing, drinking alcohol, grocery shopping, and other everyday activities were temporarily banned. As a sign of reverence for the deceased dear leader, North Koreans could not partake in anything considered joyful or leisurely. Retail shops shut down, limiting shopping. Restaurants did not serve liquor. Public laughter or rowdy behavior was prohibited. The population could only engage in somber rituals venerating their former leader. Across the country, North Koreans wept openly in choreographed displays of collective grief. Many mourners were indeed sincere, but others also had to feign sadness to appear loyal or else risk punishment. Mourning assemblies were also held by workplaces and social organizations to reinforce the atmosphere of sorrow. State media emphasized how the very heavens and nature were grieving Kim Jong-il's death through supernatural signs. Reports claimed a giant lake on the sacred Mount Paektu turned red, signifying the leader's bloodline, and that snow fell on the mountain for the first time in a century. Number 15. Brutality inside Camp 22. Prison. Camp 22, situated in the northeastern Horyong region of North Korea, is likely the most heinous of the country's infamous political prison labor camps, or Kwanliso. Those who suffer the misfortune of being sentenced to Camp 22 face brutal conditions designed to inflict maximum physical misery and psychological trauma. According to estimates, as many as 50,000 prisoners languish inside Camp 22, many serving life terms or receiving the death penalty. Crimes warranting being thrown into this nightmare gulag range from political dissent to criticizing the regime to suspected disloyalty. Often, though, not just the perpetrator but multiple generations of their family also end up imprisoned. Inmates endure wretched living conditions including malnutrition, disease without medical care, barely survivable temperatures inside uninsulated shacks, and constant exhaustion from backbreaking manual slave labor such as logging, mining, and farm work. Beatings and torture are common for the slightest infractions or disobedience. An estimated 20 to 25% of prisoners die each year due to the camp's appalling conditions. Public executions by firing squads, or worse, are carried out before inmates to stamp out any flicker of resistance. The elderly, children, and pregnant women are not spared such misery. Entire families end up condemned to this hellish captive squalor for life. Number 14. Power shortages. North Korea suffers from chronic electricity shortages that perpetually leave its cities shrouded in darkness at night, compared to the brightness of China and South Korea's nighttime cityscapes vividly seen in satellite images. Blackouts and brownouts are common occurrences for North Korean citizens used to irregular power supplies. The North Korean regime officially proclaims 100% electrification of households, but in reality, daily life is hampered by frequent disruptions to the dilapidated power grid. Thermal coal plants that are past their service lifetimes and prone to breakdowns provide most of the country's electricity. Built in 1987, the Pukchang power plant that supplies Pyongyang suffers from outdated Soviet-era technology and insufficient maintenance. Other cities receive even less steady electricity. Daily outages last 3 to 12 hours, forcing offices and factories to close. Those who can afford it use solar panels, batteries, and generators. Particularly during winter when demand spikes, power cuts become longer and more frequent. In 2015, North Korea reported massive power plant damage due to too much rain. Provinces outside Pyongyang had no power for months, forcing greater reliance on firewood. Number 13. Brutal 3 generations of punishment policy. Under North Korea's draconian 3 generations of punishment policy, if one family member is convicted of a political crime or even just suspected anti-state activities, not only is that person harshly punished, but their entire extended family can face equally severe penalties purely by association. This collective punishment echoes through 3 generations. Grandparents, parents, siblings, spouses, and children of the accused individual are all investigated. Without exception, they are all rounded up and sentenced to long detentions in horrible labor camps, even for the most minor transgression by one relative. The cycle continues as even newborns in the family may end up incarcerated. The barbarity of condemning generations of innocents for another's alleged crimes demonstrates the shocking lengths the North Korean regime will go to stamp out dissent and opposition. Collective punishment ensures North Koreans police their own families and communities to avoid bringing risk upon loved ones. Brainwashing begins young with mandatory self-criticism sessions in schools to instill loyalty and make children informed even on their own parents if any disloyal utterances or acts occur at home. Absolute purity of allegiance to the Kim Dynasty must be maintained even at the cost of tearing families apart. This 3-generation system compounds the already horrific human rights violations inherent in North Korea's forced labor camps, where an estimated 120,000 people endure hellish conditions. Entire families wasting away together is seen as just another potent warning to the broader population. Number 12. Restrictive rules on media and internet use. North Korea strictly controls and censors all media and internet access for its citizens as part of the regime's totalitarian attempts to isolate the population from foreign influences and maintain power through propaganda. Violating the restrictive rules on media usage can result in severe punishments. Owning simple radios requires official approval, and tuning into unauthorized foreign broadcasts is banned. Those caught listening to overseas radio risk fines, forced labor, torture, and even public execution as punishment. Possessing illegal foreign films and dramas also leads to strict discipline. Internet access for the masses is non-existent. Most North Koreans cannot go online and instead only use the tightly controlled state intranet network called Kwangmyong, which blocks access to the wider web. Closely monitored cybercafes with intranet access exist in major cities. Using the global internet is a privilege limited only to elites in academia, governance, and recently some approved technology zones. Strict surveillance reigns and accessing non-state-approved websites or content could mean being sent to a concentration camp. Emailing, participating in online forums, or editing collaborative sites like Wikipedia are all prohibited for North Koreans. Posting anti-regime content would be a fatal offense. The North Korean intranet only permits access to approved websites with state-sanctioned content. Number 11. Juche calendar system. North Korea utilizes a unique calendar system called the Juche calendar based on the birth year of Kim Il-sung, the founder and eternal president of North Korea. The Juche calendar stems from the ideology of Juche, introduced by Kim Il-sung, which emphasizes independence and self-reliance. It begins with Juche Year 1, corresponding to 1912 in the Gregorian calendar, the year of Kim Il-sung's birth. In 1997, North Korea adopted the Juche calendar to replace the standard Gregorian system, although both are still used. The switch emphasized rejecting foreign influences and highlighted devotion to Kim Il-sung's ideology. The Juche era became the official dating method for government documents, newspapers, public records, and other official functions. Major national holidays are calibrated based on the Juche calendar dates instead of the Gregorian calendar. For example, Kim Il-sung's birthday is celebrated on April 15 in the Gregorian calendar, but as the Day of the Sun on April 15 in the Juche calendar. The date sticks to the Juche year it fell on rather than converting annually. By unlinking the Gregorian system associated with Western imperialism in North Korean minds, the Juche calendar reinforces nationalism and the philosophy of independence. It cements the Kim family's cult of personality by memorializing Kim Il-sung as the eternal reference point. Some historians see parallels between the North Korean Juche calendar and the French Republican calendar created during the radical phase of the French Revolution to mark a new egalitarian society. Both discarded the Gregorian system linked to traditional power structures. Number 10. Horrific punishments. Being executed by anti-aircraft guns is one particularly horrific fate the North Korean regime reserves for officials who have committed grave perceived crimes against the leadership. This brutal method serves as a warning to others about the consequences of even minor disloyalty. South Korean intelligence alleges that Defense Chief Haeon Yong-chol was executed this way in 2015 in front of hundreds of spectators for behavior such as dozing off during military events that the regime considered disrespectful to Kim Jong-un. Anti-aircraft guns are extremely powerful weapons designed to fire high-caliber rounds at aircraft in flight. Using them on humans at close range literally tears them apart. North Korea also tested these executions on mannequins to ensure maximum bodily destruction. Executions using anti-aircraft fire are intentionally public, taking place at military academies or airports for maximum exposure value as a demonstration of the regime's wrath against treason. Other officials have been purged this way for corruption. This horrific method reveals the cruel lengths dictatorial regimes will go to retain power by terrorizing subjects into total submission. North Korea stamps out any flickers of nonconformity or dissent with brutality. Number 9. Secretive shadow economy. Behind North Korea's official state-controlled economy lies an entire secretive and often illegal shadow economy that many ordinary citizens rely on for survival. This hidden system fills gaps when the dysfunctional planned economy fails to provide for people's needs. Foremost among this shadow economy are unofficial farmers' markets known as Yangmadang, where North Koreans can buy and sell goods, get imported products from China, and earn income outside the government's economic structures. These markets started spontaneously during the 1990s famine when public distribution systems collapsed. The regime officially bans these private markets but has learned to tolerate them to avoid further social instability. Their prevalence reveals the failure of North Korea's collectivized agriculture and industry to supply people adequately. In addition, North Korean state entities engage in various illegal enterprises like smuggling banned luxury goods, counterfeiting foreign currency, and cybercrime operations to generate hard currency for the regime. These activities form another tier of the secretive shadow economy that contradicts North Korea's official policies. Number 8. Kim Dynasty personality cult. The North Korean regime relentlessly promoted an extensive personality cult surrounding the Kim Dynasty dictators. This cult portrays them as godlike, infallible figures deserving of absolute loyalty, obedience, and reverence from the people through propaganda, revisionist history, and myth-making. State media fosters a sense of awe and reverence toward the Kims. Schools indoctrinate children from the young through mandatory courses teaching devotion to the Kims as benevolent demigods. Giant public monuments and murals extol their greatness. Citizens wear pins with their images to demonstrate loyalty. This cult serves a political purpose in equating loyalty to the Kim dynasty with loyalty to the nation itself. Criticizing the Kims amounts to treason punishable by imprisonment or even death. The myth-making aims to justify their hereditary rule as destiny rather than authoritarianism. By controlling information, the regime crafts narratives exaggerating the Kims' achievements, wisdom, heroism, and protective care for the people. Natural events are spun as miraculous signs favoring their leadership. Number 7. Failing public health system. Despite boasting of providing free universal health care, the reality is that North Korea's public health system is in a state of extreme neglect and disrepair. The lack of infrastructure, medicine, and staff has led to entirely preventable health crises that the regime tries to conceal from the world. Access to basic medicines like antibiotics and painkillers is erratic, forcing North Koreans to turn to the black market or herbal remedies. Healthcare facilities outside Pyongyang lack electricity, sanitation, and medical equipment. Preventable diseases like tuberculosis have resurged. Chronic malnutrition is widespread, leading to developmental problems in children. Poor water quality and inadequate sewage systems frequently cause outbreaks of diseases like typhoid. Many hospitals cannot even provide running water or heating in winter. While North Korea claims health achievements match developed nations, defectors describe needless suffering and deaths under a crumbling health system. The human costs of the regime's economic failures and distorted priorities become evident, but it continues putting political objectives and military might over the welfare of its own citizens. Number 6. Mandatory hairstyles. The North Korean government maintains strict control over even people's hairstyles, permitting only plain, conservative styles deemed acceptable by the regime. Enforcing uniform looks is another way the state exerts control over individualism. North Korea has approved only 28 hairstyles total for men and women to choose from. Men's hair must be between 1 to 5 centimeters in length. Short, simple cuts with side partings or flat bangs are allowed. Dyeing hair is prohibited for men. For women, longer hair is tolerated, but fashionable styling is forbidden. Only straight cuts and side ponytails are condoned. No frivolous coloring, perms, braids, or modern layered cuts. Makeup must be muted as well, with nail polish limited to pale colors. Violating these restrictions on personal grooming can earn criticism or penalties from authorities. Like most elements of life in North Korea, conforming outwardly is paramount even in how one wears their hair. The goal is to cultivate a uniform society. The state denounces individualistic hairstyles as symbols of decadence and foreign influence. But dull conformity serves political purposes for the regime, too. Propaganda glorifies simple lifestyles and collectivism while demonizing Western liberalism and materialism. Strict dress codes reinforce this ideology. Now it's time for today's subscriber pick. Among all the hidden secrets of North Korea and the Kim Dynasty, perhaps the most disturbing is the Kipumjo, also known as the Pleasure Squad. This group comprises unfortunate females who are forcibly recruited, totaling approximately 2,000 women and girls. It is maintained by the leader of North Korea to provide entertainment for high-ranking Workers' Party of Korea officials and their families, as well as occasionally distinguished guests. When do you think this disturbing practice will come to an end, and what can be done to stop these practices? Share your thoughts in the comments. Number 5. Hidden wealth of the elites. In stark contrast to the poverty afflicting ordinary North Korean citizens, the ruling elite lead surprisingly luxurious lifestyles, secretly acquiring wealth and living in relative opulence. This hidden prosperity enjoyed by the privileged inner circle linked to the Kim dynasty is in glaring opposition to the economic struggles and shortages endured by most of the population. The elites reside primarily in the modern, developed capital of Pyongyang. Here they have access to upscale amenities and imported products typically out of reach for the masses. Luxury high-rise apartments, expensive electronics, designer clothing, jewelry, Western cuisine, and fine imported spirits are some of the trappings of wealth flaunted by the upper echelons. They frequent exclusive supermarkets stocked with quality foreign goods and prohibited outside media. Sources of this hidden wealth include the illicit activities sanctioned by the regime to generate funds, such as narcotics trafficking, counterfeiting, smuggling, and cybercrime. The elites creaming off profits from these schemes enrich themselves immensely. Foreign currency gained from such illicit sources is strictly limited for ordinary people, but affords the privileged class access to prohibited foreign goods. The regime carefully conceals the opulence of elites from both the wider population, who have little means to see beyond their own impoverished communities, as well as the outside world. The average North Korean likely has limited awareness of the vast wealth enjoyed by cadres in Pyongyang. External observers also only catch occasional glimpses of elite life through accounts of defectors. Number 4. Sham Elections. Elections are periodically held in North Korea for seats in the Supreme People's Assembly and provincial and city assemblies. On the surface, they lend a veneer of democracy and popular choice to the country's political process. However, the reality behind these elections is that they are elaborate shams designed to reinforce the power of the ruling regime rather than genuinely represent the will of the people. There is only one candidate on the ballot during North Korean elections for each district, selected by the Democratic Front for the Reunification of the Fatherland, an entity effectively controlled by the ruling Korean Workers' Party. This precludes any real electoral options or opposition candidates. The state presents these hand-picked candidates for the public to approve and vote for, giving the process a symbolic legitimizing effect. Not only is there no choice of candidates, but abstaining from voting altogether is strictly forbidden. Voting is mandatory for all eligible citizens. The act of voting in itself is a symbolic pledge of loyalty and adherence to the political system, more than a true expression of preference. The vote is a way for the regime to compel compliance and monitor the population. Failing to vote can result in administrative penalties or work demotions. Turnout in North Korean elections is reported to be nearly 100%, with the state media portraying universal participation and approval. The process amounts to a ritualistic demonstration of mass consent and allegiance, rather than an authentic democratic practice. Any evidence of dissent or criticism of the lone candidate would be suicidal given the risks. Number 3. Exaggerated military capabilities. North Korea boasts one of the largest standing armed forces in the world, claiming to have 1.28 million troops. The country also possesses nuclear weapons. On the surface, this makes North Korea appear to wield formidable military might. However, the true extent of its capabilities is unverifiable, with many experts assessing much of it as bluster and propaganda. The North Korean regime portrays its military as a world-class force equipped with cutting-edge technology and weaponry in order to boost its power domestically and project strength internationally. Mass public displays like military parades showing off missiles, rockets, tanks, and marching in unison aim to impress both internal and external audiences. Yet assessing the real readiness and capabilities of the North Korean armed forces is extremely difficult given the country's isolation and secrecy. There are credible doubts about how modern, trained, and prepared its conventional forces actually are. Photos reveal much of the displayed hardware to be outdated Soviet-era weaponry. The troops march smartly, but it is uncertain how much practical field experience and training most soldiers receive, given scarce resources. Malnutrition likely impedes performance as well. Its air force in particular is decrepit and relies on aged jets. Sea lift capabilities to transport materials are also minimal. North Korea's nuclear program has made strides but still faces technological and material limitations. Its missile systems have proven unreliable. While it possesses a huge army, its equipment stocks and logistical capabilities to effectively mobilize in combat against modern foes are dubious. Number 2. Control over personal life. The North Korean regime intrudes into and regulates almost every facet of the personal lives of citizens through an elaborate system of monitoring and rules. This suffocating level of control maintains the Kim dynasty's vice grip on power by suppressing individuality. From an early age, North Koreans face indoctrination at school with a curriculum centered on praising the Kims and Juche ideology. This primes them for submission and loyalty to the state. All media disseminates party propaganda, and any access to outside information that deviates is strictly forbidden. Surveillance pervades neighborhoods, schools, and workplaces, ensuring conformity. The Songbun system classifies citizens based on political criteria and family background, determining loyalty. This status dictates what opportunities and privileges one has access to in areas like education, occupation, and residence. The state decides where people must live and work based on political reliability, not personal choice. Movement within North Korea is tightly restricted through internal passport systems and requiring permits to travel outside one's region. Border areas are heavily guarded to prevent defections. Punishments for violations are severe. Phone calls or contact with foreigners is also prohibited without state approval to prevent any foreign subversion. Number 1. Banned international phone calls. Making an unauthorized international phone call is strictly prohibited for all North Korean citizens and can result in severe punishments, including imprisonment or even death. The regime isolates its population to prevent foreign influences. Calls abroad are reserved only for senior officials and statesmen, not regular citizens. Unauthorized calls are seen as defying the regime's information blockade to reach the outside world. Simply communicating with relatives who defected could lead to getting arrested as a traitor. Any unauthorized international phone call attempts get traced back, and both the caller and receiver face harsh consequences. Entire families can be implicated as foreign colluders and sentenced to brutal prison labor camps for the mistakes of one member. The fear of brutal punishments for calling abroad maintains North Korea's isolation. The regime treats any foreign interaction without state approval as ideological contamination, threatening its propaganda monopolization of the people. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.